Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ryan Half.
And I'm Kendall Jarbo. Thanks for joining us. A major announcement from the federal government today could impact how safe your drinking water is. The EPA set new limits for PFAS, or cancer-causing chemicals, in drinking water nationwide.
Northern News Now's Rob Coles joins us here in studio to break down when these rules will go into effect and how you can best protect yourself in the meantime. Rob?
Well, Kendall and Ryan, PFAS can be found in many everyday materials. That includes cleaning products, shampoo, cookware, fabric, and a whole lot more. Now, these regulations set a maximum contaminant level for 6 PFAS chemicals in drinking water. Now, public water systems, including here in Minnesota and Wisconsin, would be required to spend 3 years monitoring PFAS levels and then make those findings available to the public starting in 2027. After that, they would have 5 years to find solutions to reduce PFAS levels. Now, they're also known as forever chemicals. PFAS have been linked to health problems, including cancer. Leaders with the Wisconsin Department of Health say there are ways to minimize your exposure right now. Dr. Sarah Yang is a groundwater toxicologist for the WDH. According to Yang, there are water filters available that can lower PFAS in drinking water. In addition to that, she suggests making sure to shower after swimming in lakes, and even vacuuming regularly can reduce your exposure to the PFAS that were previously used in old flooring materials. She thinks the new regulations could have a big impact on public health.
You know, we need this federal guidance to help us take that next step to continue to reduce our exposure and protect public health. And this is really kind of the way we're going to get there.
And EPA leaders estimate this ruling will prevent PFAS exposure for approximately 100 million people. They also believe it will prevent about thousands of deaths and save tens of thousands of people from suffering from PFAS-related illnesses down the line. Now, leaders with the Wisconsin DNR say they have already been monitoring PFAS levels. All but 88 water systems across the state are below the new guidelines announced today by the EPA. State leaders say many communities in our viewing area, including Superior, are already below that new federal regulation.